Can you talk a little about what was the sense of courage or audacity or motivation for taking on something which was a system of apartheid in the United States? You know, this was a legal system and it was well entrenched. Uh, did it seem like an unrealistic thing to do at the time, but one that you needed to try to do? Was there a sense of confidence about it that with the right strategies and the right scale of unity, that this was something that was feasible? Were you going into it both as an individual and collectively with the sense of some greater purpose, whether or not it was going to be feasible? What was that like?
Well, there was a kind of a genteel air that took place in Lynchburg, as opposed to what was happening, for example, a few miles down the road in Danville, Virginia at the same time. We didn't have the fire hoses and the dogs and those kinds of things that we saw in other parts of the South. That there was certainly emotional, economic, and social pressure that was being applied, but we had a very close-knit community, and the rallies at the churches, the sit-in demonstrations, the marches, all of those just seemed like the right thing to do, and there was such community cooperation within the black community. There was such community support. We were made aware, for example, Linda and I, for a full half of a school year, were 2 black students in a school of 2,500 kids. And we were made aware that even as we made our way to school, and I usually walked to school, Glass was close enough for me to walk to school, we were made aware that there were people in the community that would take it upon themselves to watch over us as we made our way to school. So, we were in a crucible of a sense of safety on the one hand, but on the other hand, we understood that it was something that needed to be done, and there was a lot of support and cooperation that was taking place within the community. I never lost social contact with my African American peers, that were students with me. I was invited to all the parties and all the dances and all those kinds of things, in the black community. And so even though I was kind of rejected at school, at EC Glass, I was getting that kind of support and cooperation that I needed from my peers. And Lynchburg's not that big a city.
Wow, that's something. I think as I listen to you talk about this, I'm wondering what conflicts emerged over whether or how to implement certain strategies. So you say there was a lot of support, but I'm wondering whether also, given the entrenchment of these conditions of racial segregation and racial intimidation, whether there were some people who said, you know what, this sounds like a good idea, but people have gotten incarcerated, they've been killed doing this, maybe we should wait, or maybe we should try a different strategy. Were those conversations part of the concern or the consciousness of people in your community at that time?
Oh, of course. Of course. There were many who not only bought into the idea that was being promoted by the majority community, let's do this incrementally, let's wait a little while. There were those in the black community that were even promoting that idea themselves. But one of the things that I can't say about the inner workings in other places, but Dr. Wood and others that were in leadership position there made sure as youth leaders that we were brought in at the strategy level. And I remember we were in the process of making some plans to desegregate S&W cafeteria in our hometown. And we were brought in on the strategy sessions. We were helped to figure out how to be tactical in the way that we address that. And so, we felt very much a part of, and one of the things that I recently realized, and when I say recently, within the last couple of years, is that the youth movement that was taking place in Lynchburg actually predated the Birmingham Children's Crusade campaign. We were doing this in the summer of '62. The Birmingham Children's Crusade didn't take place until the spring of '63. And so, we were kind of doing those things on the ground. And then in '63, my father took me to the March on Washington. We were already, kind of in an activist position, and that just kind of reinforced how we were part of a bigger operation that was taking place.